Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. The rate at which we're vibing. It's not too far in the future. It's not too far in the past. Right now. Now or never. But I want to speak about this holiday, that's still being celebrated. That's called Columbus Day. At this point, even what we call a quote unquote unconscious person realize the blasphemy of celebrating Columbus Day. You know, uh, a little kid. If I tell a little kid, "Hey, I got this little land over here. They got some people on it," and then somebody else comes to that place, and say they discovered it. Did that person really discover a land that somebody? No, a kindergarten could tell you that, in which that's again I'm gonna get into that aspect of it, how the school system in essence continues to indoctrinate, this false, uh, you know, the falsehood of like somebody discovering, like he didn't discover anything, but anyway, I'm gonna get a little bit into that, just to get into a little history in essence that predates that and then going into it. But came across some information about hipping me to this book called The Golden Trade of the Moors. It's by Edward William Boville or E.W. Boville. So it's E.W. Boville is like Bovill. You can find the book on Amazon. And this book kind of it speaks to, how 400 years before Christopher Columbus was even born, like in 900 AD sometime, they had some West African, you could say, I mean, from the explanation they say kings, but kings, queens, whatever. But they had some West African royalty, traveling to the Americas for trade. And matter of fact, these West Africans was in essence from the area of Mali. And matter of fact, as I'm speaking on this, there was more than one. Like this was the last one recorded, and the last one where we still have like where there's archaeological and historic how can I say remembrance of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the last one with the most evidence, so to speak. But even before this, and I'm gonna get into that because they also had one that was 2,000 years ago as well. But 400 years, I mean not 400 years ago, 400 years. I'm sorry, yeah. Matter of fact, 400 years before Columbus was born. Again in 900 A.D. These West African, families of royalty from Mali was going to what we call, the America. Matter of fact, because I forgot how to break down the name Amaru. Amaru, it break down to like feathered serpent or feathered bird, something like that. Almost like to the same sentiments of Quetzalcoatl name, because Quetzalcoatl I think stands for the feathered serpent as well. But which is another story of Christ that came before Christ. But anyway, West African royalty had been traveling, to this area. And matter of fact, it adds to the aspect of, when we think about the Dogon tribe in Mali, anybody unfamiliar, go look up the Dogon tribe. Matter of fact, where the Dogon tribe had mapped out, the star Sirius and how it rotates around, how Sirius A and Sirius B rotates in a helical, kind of like a DNA strand, rotates around each other in that type of manner. The people from the Dogon tribe been knowing of this. Matter of fact, to the point where when the French people later came to this information, because matter of fact, that's why Mali, in Mali they speak French. Matter of fact, I had a African French teacher from Mali when I was in elementary school from Timbuktu. But anyway, You know, the French who came across these people from the door, like, oh man, how in the hell y'all know this? But then as they did their own research, like, well, damn, this shit is, real. They been knowing this. How they, know this? But just to, tie in a little history from somewhere else to what we dealing with right here, but it was also said that they were traveling to like what we call modern day Mexico area, like that little Central America area. As a matter of fact, they were trading with what we know as the Mayans, you know what I'm saying? And even the Mayans in that sense, like again, melanated beings were all over this planet, all over the place. So it wasn't just in quote unquote Africa, which is named after somebody who Africanus, Leo Africanus or something like that, but not getting deep into that. But where they say, so why I'm using this reference in essence, because the proof that they used to prove that these West Africans were trading along that time was like the evidence of them having like maize corn being in Africa, and which it dates back to again like far past when Columbus even sailed. They had this maize corn in Africa, but which is not native to to Africa. So that evidence within itself was like, all right, somebody was traveling to this area way before somebody even thought of a name Christopher Columbus. You know what I'm saying? So you see that. So right there, you see you had people, melanated people in Africa already traveling, already going on the seas, already of royalty, And matter of fact, the whole thing was, matter of fact, when we think about West Africa, we think about the Yoruba too, when we talk about Vodun and Santeria, Matter of fact, and where the first little areas again, like that little Central America, area. But they were bringing like gold and bronze. They were trading, and that's another thing. They were doing this for trade. It wasn't conquest or let's go discover. Because matter of fact, again, this trip that took place 900 AD, or around 400 years before Columbus was born. This was like one of their last trips. They had trips that preceded that trip. You know what I'm saying? But again, they were going to trade, and they had like the West African royalty. They had the metals. They had like the gold and the bronze, and they were trading for the food, for the maize. As a matter of fact, when I thought about that, I thought about like the Yoruba, and I thought about like they were trading metals, and I thought about Ogun. You know what I'm saying? Because Ogun is the god over metals and stuff like that. And to the point where they actually have like a city or maybe a country or a state, in essence, named Ogun in Africa. But again, you have that evidence right there, of that situation. So all this went down way before, Christopher Columbus was even born. Then you come down to to later in history, where you got like in 1492, you got this peace treaty that was signed with the Moors and basically Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. Aragon and Castile were like two little, again, I don't know if to call them states in Spain or whatever. They came together as king and queen, and they had a place called, I think it's modern day Andalusia. I think I said that right. And they had a place called Granada, like on the southern part of Spain. And matter of fact, it would make sense that the Moors, on that southern part, of the southern part of Spain, in essence, is close to Africa, or I think what is modern day, as far as like a little area right there. Not, of course, the broadness of Africa, but Morocco, if I'm not mistaken. But again, in 1492, this peace treaty was signed because, matter of fact, they basically waged war on the Moors in Granada. you know, because as a matter of fact, the Moors was kind of, you know, receding in essence in quote unquote power, and you know, and because a lot of people wonder, like, you know, how things, you know, just did the European people just take over everything, you know? It came with a certain level of takeover, but with trickery, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, tricking certain peoples in certain areas. And by time, say for instance, if you tricking all my people, but I don't know you tricking them, like you doing your thing, and we not talking to, you know, each other, you know, I'm not knowing, like, all right, to be prepared for these people who come in seeming as nice and, you know, on a whole different vibe, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, we already too in a place of we wasn't of course we did have you know, little battles amongst ourselves, but nothing extreme. We still was like beings of love, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't quick to just, you know, like go against somebody just because they look different, you know, or you know, whatever the case may be. So you had that aspect. So it's just like a sneaky way of them, you know, sticking and moving in certain areas, you know, conquering this little area, you know, we conquer that little area, we go somewhere else and fool somebody else, you know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, you got Rome, England, America, you know, get all those vibes. But again, this peace treaty in 1492, you know, which kind of handed, in essence, handed Spain to Isabella and Ferdinand, and kind of took it. So that's like the last time, in essence, the Moorish people were like really, you know, occupying Spain with power, so to speak, you know. So you have that aspect. And then, you know, getting to a place of like, you know, so with that treaty that allowed for, you know, like, because let's see, we talking about Spain, because it, matter of fact, because around this time, you know, Spain and Portugal, you know, in essence, kind of like, not say battling it out, but in essence, battling it out for like trying to find what they call, you know, new land or newly discovered, you know what I'm saying? Again, you can't newly discover anything where some people already at. As a matter of fact, I caught a little bit of what, shout out to Black Magic Channel, shout out to Blue Pill, Red Pill. I caught a little bit where one of them spoke to the situation too, or what they would do, you know, when they would come to the land, you know, because matter of fact, this also dealing with, you know, not just the conquest of land, but this also the evangelist vibe of, you know, that Catholic religion, and forcing that upon people and bringing that, you know, to these different places. And he spoke about like how they, like, you know, how we have like a notary, you know, where you gotta, you know, the notary is kind of like a witness to you signing some paperwork, stuff like that. But like they would go to these lands with this notary and read. There's something about like, you know, we are here in the name of whatever, you know, the Catholic religion, this and that, and it was what it was really meant for is to, before they would, you know, try to be evangelists and force themselves on people to, like, you know, we speak in this written statement first. And matter of fact, and I can't remember if it's Blue Pill or Red Pill, but anyway, you know, he spoke to how they would, even if they read this to thin air, so, you know, like on some, again, playing them games, like where they would get to a shore, and if nobody was present, they would just still read the notary just to say, hey, we read it. Nah, nobody answered back, so we could wage war on whoever's here. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of vibe. Well, we went about it in a diplomatic way. We said, you know what I'm saying? So you see that fuckery and foolishness, you know, also in that area. You know, basically that evangelist get down or lay down type of vibe, like trying to forcefully program the subconscious of the world so that they could create this falsehood of a religion and have everybody brainwashed. Because the importance of, you know, our thoughts and our mind creates worlds, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, and speaking of that, you know, why getting into the realness of this history is important, you know what I'm saying? Like, because in essence, you know, like say for instance, back to the root situation, you know, when you don't know, if a tree don't know, its roots, or know, you know, what what it is, it don't know where to go. And it just, and not use the tree analogy, say for instance with us, if everything we know from this moment to the day we came to earth was erased, you know, we wouldn't know, you know, where we are, what's like, you know, like what's going on here, you know. And I'm not speaking, leave the spiritual aspect of like, you know, well, yeah, your God self will speak to you, this and that, you know, more so again from the aspect of the human level of, you know, like knowing what you know, knowing what you are, you know what I'm saying? Like, but how could you know what you are if your history has been erased, you know what I'm saying? And again, we don't mean to egotistically identify with history, you know what I'm saying? In a point where, you know, it's becoming detrimental to your spiritual growth. But you, it, say for instance, if you don't know your history, then if you don't know where you're coming from, how you know where you're going? How you know your destination if you don't know where the fuck you're coming from? Like, because if you don't know your destination, then you could go back to where you came from, which may be, you know, something that, again, that you was trying to get away. So it's like, gotta know your history. So, oh wait, hold on, I don't want to go back there, you know. And now that I know my history, I know that I shouldn't go back to this, and not say a landmass, but just back to this place of existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be going this way. But you know, again, without your history or her story, but his story, you know what I'm saying? Like, you would be lost in essence. Now, getting back to, you know, with this treaty, you know, this treaty that, again, opened up the waters to be traveled by Christopher Columbus. And matter of fact, after the Treaty of 1492, where the Moors kind of, you know, basically kind of left Spain for Isabella and Ferdinand, there was a Treaty of Tordesillas. Treaty of Tordesillas, I don't know if it's spelled right, but the Treaty of Tordesillas, signed on June 7, 1494, that divided the newly discovered lands outside of Europe between Spain and Portugal. Each country could trade and colonize their half, you know, colonize. Obviously, like they, you know, and the Spanish would control the Central and South America and Philippine areas, and the Portugal would control Brazil, the African coast, Asia, and East Indies. You know, a matter of fact, and then from there, you know, in essence, you could say, all right, play ball. You know what I'm saying? And that's when all the serious colonialization, you know, started to expand. As a matter of fact, because back to the information, speaking on, like, you know, how 400 years before Columbus was even born, you know, these melanated people, African people were, you know, traveling, and matter of fact, already royalty, riches, and everything. So, you know, to show you like how this vibe, but too, like, oh, these uncivilized people, this and that. And two, that tells a lot on Columbus, because if the people were so uncivilized, you know, why 400 years before you were born, people were going trade in these areas with these oh so uncivilized savages, you know? The real savage is somebody who goes to, like, what a real savage, like, say for what you would call me if I told you a story about how I walked into my neighbor house, I didn't see him there, so I'm like, shit, this house for me. And whatever woman walked in that house, I would throw myself on her, or, you know what I'm saying, and it, like, damn, bro, that's savage, like, that ain't, you know what I'm saying, you ain't discovered shit, you know what I'm saying, but yet, you know, this type of behavior warrants a holiday, you know, statues, you know, and all in a place in little children's history books, you know, to praise this person as if they're some kind of hero. Like, nah, that's a savage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you see the essence of it. And so back to that point, the trade stopped in 1600 AD, because the Spanish and Portuguese started to colonize on a high level, and again started erasing history. Because another thing dealing with these wars, again, if you don't know your history, you don't know what happened. So, say for instance, if they would have fully erased this information from the book I told you about, the golden trade of the Moors, say if that book didn't exist, then everybody would be under the falsehood that Columbus and all this could be real. I mean, and then be real with you now, I still couldn't, because they had people here before you came here. But just still though, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see the strategy of wars and why they throw away or destroy people artifacts. You see why Vatican got like so many artifacts that don't have shit to do with Europe, and why they ain't got European artifacts from 10,000 years old if these people was the people that was the ruling class and been ruling and this and that. Then where the European ancient history at, and again, as we saying this, it's not to get into our egotistical place of turn this into a place of bodysuit against bodysuit. But at the same time, we want to be educated though on the reality of a situation. Because again, without being educated to this, you got people walking around, getting fucked over, and others walking around fucking over other people because they, don't know their history, in essence. And with this Columbus Day vibe, matter of fact, and also, I forgot to speak to that too. They had a trip before the last trip, and I kind of spoke to that. The trip before the last trip to the Americas took place 2,000 years ago. Matter of fact, approximately around the time when the Bible was written. So you see how, so you got more evidence of like, nah, shit been moving in, before the English language even existed, let alone for somebody to, create this fake Jesus, like the story of Horus and all this existed way before some fake Jesus. But anyway, the trip that and again, these, I think the golden trade of the Moors, that book also has some references to this as well. But again, they find out that a trip took place 2,000 years ago. So even way before the trip that took place 400 years before Columbus was born, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, it was said that this little trip, that one that predated the last one, they made it to the area of southern Illinois. And the brethren, well, I got the information from, he spoke on how this guy named Russell Worlds, not sure, but his name not important, but he had came across these caves in that area of southern Illinois, and they found like stone coffin tops and small little stones with like carvings of faces, and it was like the carvings of these faces like look like like black people, and even some of them having like a carving of like depictions of what looked like a a sailor and a boat in the background, you know what I'm saying, and like I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, and also like little hieroglyphs or just ancient writings and stuff in these caves as well. So that also and I'm sorry for, because when I start doing that is because something else is coming in while I'm speaking what I'm talking about. But so with that area of southern Illinois, now when I came across this information just now, it made me think to, which I can't remember if it's fully at southern Illinois, but in the year 2024, we're gonna have another eclipse. And I did a video on this. If you just look up universal frequencies eclipse 2024, it should pop up. But anyway, they got an eclipse coming in 2024 where, all right, the eclipse that came, what it was last year in August, it came from Oregon you know, across, and I'm looking at it from the map from my, so Oregon being right here to me, but like, you know, or it came from Oregon and it crossed, you know, across the country, you know. This next eclipse coming from the other side, like coming from, you know, say for instance like Canada, Maine, like the Maine area, like the, you know, East Coast is coming from that way and going, you know, and matter of fact, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say coming from that way. It's basically, in which, well, neither here or there. Let's just say you got the one from Oregon, you know, where that pathway crossed a certain way, and then this other one, no matter which direction it's coming from, it's still gonna cross the area that, you know, that other eclipse crossed. And when you look at the pathways of the eclipse that passed already and the one that's coming in 2024, you'll see that the little, it marks a little X, and the little X is around a place called I want to say Little Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. And in this place, in this little area, like they use different names, like you know, it might be a little small town around that area called Anubis or something, you know what I'm saying? And I can't recall the information from the video at the moment, but you know, as a matter of fact, again, go check it out. But you know, that also adds though some, you know, how can I say, you know, it just kind of adds more evidence in essence to the story of, you know, this, you know, these people being in the southern Illinois area, you know, 2,000 years ago, you know. So with that being said, you know, and again, the universe, there's no coincidences in this universe. So with those people, you know, even, again, being traced, you know, through the artifacts and stuff said to be in this area, then this eclipse in 2024, you know, is crossing in this area again, and this little area is around, like, if I ain't mistaken, the southern part of Illinois, you know. So you see these little correlations, you know, of how, you know, source shows us certain things, you know, of just like, you know, the synchronicity of how certain things line up. And you know, and for the most part, getting into this Columbus Day stuff, you know, it's just about us right now, you know, stepping out of celebrating these, you know, these holidays, you know. Matter of fact, because Columbus Day reminded me of Valentine's Day. Matter of fact, like the history of Valentine's Day had to do with this guy, in essence, like a pedophile, sending this letter to this young girl, you know. Matter of fact, like sending your Valentine's Day card or whatever, like this was this guy named Valentine's who, you know, was about to get persecuted or something like that. So he sent this little, you know, or while he was under persecution, he sent this letter, you know, to his, you know, when he turned into, you know, Valentine after the name, but, you know, to this younger girl who he was, you know, dealing with in the essence of, like, you know, on a pedophile type of level, you know. And again, but they make this a holiday, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, promote, to make everybody comfortable with these vibes. And matter of fact, even if you don't even really know the story, you know, you're embracing a certain energy, you know what I'm saying, that has nothing to do with, you know, big up in your soul, or like, you know, ascension energy, or aligning with your inner source, or help, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's basically honoring a pedophile in essence, you know, and just like with Columbus Day, you know, you don't discover anything where somebody's already at, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that, and not only that, you know, this brethren, you know, raped and pillaged the areas he dealt with. Matter of fact, even down to, you know, beheading some people to scare some of the natives, all kind of things, you know. But yet, this person has a statue for them and a holiday, and actions speak louder than words, you know. It's like, oh, everything is all good, we love you, we respect you, this and that. Well, you can't respect me, because by acknowledging Christopher Columbus as somebody that discovered anything, you're being disrespectful to, you know, the indigenous beings on this planet. you know what I'm saying, or the indigenous people who was already in these certain areas. You know, that's like a slap in the face to them to even honor this. The fact that I can't even go to the post office and mail somebody a beautiful crystal, you know what I'm saying, something positive. I can't do something positive because of this holiday, giving, credence to, a raper, pillager, and they said just savage, you know what I'm saying? And again, I'm saying that not as no to degrade, because even though I never known Christopher Columbus in the flesh or none of that, you know what I'm saying? I don't, even with people who may done unrighteous things, I don't have to like belittle or talk down, Of course, I'm bullshitting the situation, but Christopher Columbus was just being that contrast, in our experience, you know what I'm saying? Just like Hitler or anybody else, you know what I'm saying? Like Ronald Reagan. So all that contrast, all that pressure to make a diamond, you know what I'm saying? Donald Trump right now. You know what I'm saying? It's that pressure to make a diamond, in the full spectrum of our spiritual, being, and like being God on a human experience. Now on a human level, of course, like fuck Christopher, you know what I'm saying, on that type of level, but it's definitely about no hate, you know what I'm saying? Cuz in the bigger scheme of things, everything is in a certain divine order. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, here it is, well, and again, whether Bill Cosby did it or not, how somebody from the melanated community, do something, just a little something, and it's just like, oh, this motherfucker, he's bad, he's such a demon, he should, like, oh, he's just this, he's just that. What about the motherfuckers who raped their slaves and went to these lands and discovered them, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people who raped and pillaged, who have statues and fucking days named after them. Like, how in the fuck you get a day named after you and a statue for raping and pillaging? You get honored, but then when you're melanated and you do something that's, a little off. And again, not saying Bill Cosby did it anyway, because I spoke to that, but just as if he did, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like still, you know what I'm saying? So, or does that mean Bill Cosby about to get a holiday in a day named after him? Because under the previous template, I see that, you got George Washington Day, he had slaves, did his thing. Thomas Jefferson was, out of all people to ever own slaves, he's like the most notorious slave, or should I say slave owner with sexual relationships with his slave. Like, he's notorious. Matter of fact, I always make the joke, like, it ain't too many white Jeffersons, I mean, even down to the show The Jeffersons, you know what I'm saying, with black people. Like, it's like, huh. Matter of fact, I don't even want to bullshit. When I think about George Jefferson and his little receding hairline, kind of remind you of a picture of Thomas Jefferson. You never know. You never know. But anyway, anyway, though, you know what I'm saying? And again, because I'm this high aspect of it, laugh, it ain't nothing to, oh, you kill people and pillage, Of course, yeah, these things from a human moralistic level is like, definitely wasn't righteous, but it's spilled milk at this point, we got to keep it moving. Now is the vibrate. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, speaking of now is the vibrate, practicing good habits now and not tomorrow. So dealing with this Columbus holiday, it's time for us to, of course, and matter of fact, of course, say for instance, some of us is off today or whatever, but all right, since you all use this day to celebrate, something that really needs celebrating, celebrate your wife, your husband, your kids, your parents, your family. So and so graduated last week. So and so about to graduate. Just celebrate, do something that celebrate. Matter of fact, and celebrates your history. Matter of fact, that's what we should. Columbus Day should be a day to reflect on our own history. Let's boom, hit the gavel. Bow. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. You know what I'm saying? And which was funny. I think I indirectly heard that before. That's probably why it's kind of coming out now. But let this be a day to honor, our indigenous ancestors. You know, in fact, let this be Ancestors Day, or you know, something of that nature, where we honor, you know, those who, matter of fact, who had to stand up to that situation. Our ancestors that, where the history almost got taken away. You know what I'm saying? We gotta, we gotta honor the vibes of our ancestors, in the essence, where that energy, is not in vain. Like, what, they didn't transition in vain. Like a Harriet Tubman and all this, who went through all that shit to try to make sure, that melanated people was freer than what they were. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't for us to stop in this fake illusion of free. Back, oh well, we free enough. Like, nah, motherfuckers. Excuse my diction, but nah, we want to be all, free, to where you could truly feel it and see it. And not no motherfucker trying to give you the lip service of like, oh yeah, you free, or look around, you should feel like, no, I should feel it, and not have nobody trying to tell me how free I am, or how much racism don't exist out of your mouth. All right, well, if it don't exist, let it exist to a point of where I see it and feel it to the utmost and the fullest. And that mean on both sides. That mean, well, melanated people not being oppressed, and as melanated people, stop being oppressed. Also, not no melanated people oppressing non-melanated people. It's like just completely no racism. But you see the importance again on our spiritual path. We always speak about now. Now is the vibrate. So let's now, start to stop giving, this energy to these, rapers and pillagers, and these people with these unrighteous vibes that get honored in America. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's time for it to stop. Time. Now. Now or never. Because, matter of fact, so showing you why it's so important for now too. If I see my parents and elders celebrate, a certain situation, then I would indirectly be programmed to think that this day means something as well. So if I constantly seeing, my parents and that, like, oh yeah, Columbus Day, boy, I'm about to, oh yeah, this one, and of course some people are probably not that brainwashed with it, like, oh yeah, Columbus Day, boy, this when Columbus discovered America. I'm pretty sure, hopefully, well, I don't use the word hopefully, but I trust that, people not that brainwashed in that vibe. But again, as a little kid, I'm watching my parents, like, oh yeah, Columbus Day, this and that. So I'm programmed with that, and then it becomes something for myself. And matter of fact, this vibe is the same vibe with Sunday Jesus in the Bible with slavery. You know what I'm saying? Where, as a little slave baby or slave kid, I'm watching us, because shit was brutal. I was getting the ass whipping too as a little kid. But so as a little, slave child, you seeing how we get our ass whipped from, Monday to Saturday, but then we get this holiday. You know what I'm saying? Just how, like, Columbus Day is a holiday. Oh, I'm off. I don't get to work. You know what I'm saying? They're subconscious programming with that, like making things like reverse trauma in essence. Compared to like the Jesus situation, like with Columbus Day, it's like reverse trauma. Like, where it's not about them really overworking you from Monday to whatever. It's just more so that, hey, here's this holiday, away from, work and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And so you like, oh shit, yeah, I'm off. So, so you kind of indirectly, honor it. But again, the kids is always watching. But in those slave days, again, getting your ass beat from Monday to Saturday, when somebody come and with a Bible in their hand talking about Jesus, you know what I'm saying? No, you like, oh, like Jesus. Like, matter of fact, and then after Sunday come on Monday, when you getting that ass whipped, like, matter of fact, that's probably what hollering Jesus. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, like, come, like, what Sunday at? What Jesus at? Like, oh, get mass off my ass, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? That's programming. That's not a true belief or a true knowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were in, like, you got your ass whipped into that. You know what I'm saying? This is not no indigenous knowledge. You know? So again, it's important for us to, start again, and don't see yourself as being, because again, society, the people who, with the stuff, and again, we're not looking down on them. But the brainwashed people that's with the shits, when you say, for instance, go to talk about, like, oh, well, I'm not gonna celebrate Columbus Day or this and that. Like, and some people look at, like, oh man, you being extreme. Like, extreme, my nigga? Nah, I'm being just operating in the moment. I'm operating in a manner that makes sense. Why would I honor a holiday of somebody that ain't really discovered shit? Plus, he was a raper and pillager and killer, you know what I'm saying? In essence, serial killer, But this fool got a statue. Matter of fact, one of them I know of, a statue. Matter of fact, and what's funny, I bet you they probably got something around that statue, because I think they did last time. But downtown LA around Grand Park, you got that Christopher Columbus. That slaps in the face. That's like, psh, 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 And again, they take away our history. And without your history, you don't know what really went on. And then you embrace some bullshit like, oh, Christopher Columbus. It's like, nah, And two, this another way of seeing why a lot of kids be so detached from school, but then they get this label as if they delinquent or ADHD. It's like, nah, motherfucker sitting there, and there's a teacher talking about a motherfucker who went to a land with some people already on it, but then they claim he discovered it. If I hear some shit like that in school, I'm gonna want to skip and not be it, and especially if the vibe of how fake that shit is, but yet these people really talking about this like this really means something. Oh no, I don't need to be in this place, So that's where you get that vibe too of, like, again, like certain kids not being into school because our soul be knowing. Our soul know what's bullshit and what's not at the end of the day, But again, it's about acting now, because you will constantly stay in the habit of celebrating these rapists and these fake founders and stuff like that. If you continue to embrace, then it becomes still a habit. In order to quit smoking, I gotta quit smoking. You know what I'm saying? In order to quit drinking, I gotta quit drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes that, that actual, stepping back to actually take that first step into going into the healthier habit. But as long as I keep saying, tomorrow I do it, next Columbus Day I decide to really, honor our ancestors. Next Columbus Day I choose to really. It's like, when will you? And then your kids watching you, you know what I'm saying, doing it, and it trickles down. And matter of fact, and you see too that again these vibes are trying to indoctrinate us with this, quote unquote education system. Matter of fact, one of my quotes, and what's funny, like it just resonated with me. I know you can't see it, but one of my tattoos say it's a Bob Marley quote saying, if I was educated I'd be a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was indoctrinated and believe all this bullshit like Christopher Columbus really discovered something, I'd be a fucking idiot. And again, as I'm saying this, those of you who may have believed that Christopher Columbus did really discover something, you're not an idiot. Don't down yourself. We all been duped by some information at some point. And that's where the spiritual growth come in, of getting out our egoic mind of like, well, all right, the information is up on the plate. You know, I could be stubborn and try to keep identifying with, well, no, you know, my mama taught me to love this holiday and this and that, so I'ma love this holiday too. You know, you could be stubborn about it, or you could just, in essence, follow your heart about it. You know, is your vibe. But again, back to the schooling situation, because I think about like how New York system is like almost straight up like New York schooling system, and the way they got is the closest to being in a dictatorship that I probably ever heard of. As far as like where, in New York they make it like where they always constantly, like, cause I saw somebody, a woman on Instagram, who posted about how she been homeschooling her son, but how, like, cause in New York, like, they strict on like with the child services vibe, they don't want you to homeschool at all. Like, you gotta really prove, that your homeschooling is up to par for them to allow it to happen, in essence. As matter of fact, again, I came across some queen Instagram page where she spoke to that. She like, I've been homeschooling my son, and yep, the New York school system, our government, then came at me, on some child services vibe more than once, but she stayed with it, and continuously homeschooling her son, and of course the rest you already know. The brethren educated for real, for real. In fact, of the word educated, or educare in Latin, to draw out, to pull some information out, in essence. But yeah, you see how this, again, it's like almost a dictatorship. Like, you better worship, not say worship, but you better honor this fake ass founder named Christopher Columbus. You better honor what George Washington did for this country. You better honor these rapers and pillagers who fucked over your people. You better honor them. That's, again, actions speak louder than words. You say you love me and you fuck with me, but your school system say otherwise. You feel me? Like, it's obvious. You know what I'm saying? What they doing. So again, with the New York vibe, with the strict child services vibe of trying to put parents, basically locking parents up for homeschooling their kids. Think about that, man. Where we existed without this indoctrinated school system all before. Like, the person who sailed the seas 400 years before Christopher Columbus was born, he wasn't indoctrinated by this same type of school system. So why would you need to be indoctrinated by it now? It makes no sense. So again, you're seeing these vibes of them just pushing this stuff, And again, you see the importance for them, the importance for like waging war in certain areas, and trying to get a hold of these artifacts in this history, because if I erase these artifacts in these history, that's why, matter of fact, speaking of the Catholic Church and evangelists, Vatican, with all these different little conquests, they send them little artifacts back to Vatican to hide, while they study them and give you completely different, you know what I'm saying? They study the real shit and find a way to subconsciously program you into some other shit, But again, you see the agenda, of just honoring, and again, it's subconsciously creating a situation to promote, this again, people that's taking things from others, to honor a vibe of raping and pillaging. You know what I'm saying? Like, with honoring Columbus Day, Valentine's Day, having a president who spoke to grabbing a woman or whatever, grabbing a woman in a pussy, in a vagina, for lack of a better word, excuse me for being so vulgar, but it is what it is, as far as like aspect, just becoming more and more obvious, at who, because again, to honor, say for instance, to honor people in their uniqueness, like, all it takes for me is to tell my son or daughter, like, hey, no matter what somebody's sexual orientation is, or no matter how they appear, don't judge them. They're being themselves. They're doing what they see best. Of course, in the situation, the way Source made it, for us to reproduce, it takes a male and female, but there are some people who, don't deal with that vibe, and just because they don't deal with it mean we should judge them, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I could teach my kid that you don't need to create a rainbow day in schools, honoring homosexuality for a kid to honor people and not judge people. Just have a day where you honor, have empathy for other people. You know what I'm saying? Like empathy for other people day. Again, like, but nah, they want you to celebrate homosexuality. And again, y'all know what's up to my people. What sexual orientation may be, however it may be. You know what I'm saying? This is not a like a knock to you or anything, but this is the reality of the situation. Matter of fact, the government knows this. That's why they play in these little areas, because they know, how can I say, to create this little battle between people. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's just where whether the government is promoting these things, this nation, they promoting the pedophilia and the homosexuality, and and again, to each his own on your sexual orientation, but it's a fact that this government keeps trying to promote that to little kids, like, and if and step out of your it, and that's how you know whether you're egotistical or like homosexual through your ego or through your soul. Because if you can't separate yourself from being homosexual and just look at it from a soul aspect, like as a soul, is it something proper to be persuading kids to do this in school? Like, like, just as a soul, just keep it real. Matter of fact, now if you can't keep it real in that moment, then you know where you stand, and I still love you regardless of where you stand, but you know where you stand. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's like, nah, man. And again, you got the Valentine's Day. Matter of fact, I think about school, like, cause where a lot of these holidays is promoted extra in school too. Like, I think about, well, they had us, oh yeah, Valentine's Day, we get to pass out cards and candy. They create this situation that makes it, well, we see it as favorable, to have us in the subconscious mode of enjoying this and celebrating and looking to celebrate it, but which is something that, in essence, shouldn't even be celebrated, But, you definitely, see these vibes. Matter of fact, and just the continuous of the, the lies and stuff like that. Because matter of fact, the little part where, basically, like in the 1600 AD, where when the West Africans, they kind of stopped traveling back and forth. That little part was called the Age of Exploration, by those Europeans. Like, oh, this is the Age of Exploration. And you see, that's what shit be fucked up, because even now, you go on YouTube now, and some people still ain't keeping it all the way saucy, but they say some shit like, and with some of it, again, is from lack of information, so I'm not trying to say all people are purposely doing it, but where it's like, oh yeah, this is the Age of Exploration, this is when people first started to travel the waters, and then again, and somebody kid watching that and learning that and thinking that that's reality, and we gotta shine the light on these shadows. Awareness, our conscious awareness is like light being shined on these shadows, behind, the Age of Exploration. But when people been back and forth on the seas 2,000 years before you was even born, where they do that at? But just to share that again, now or never. Now's the time to to start pulling away from these holidays. You know what I'm saying? And start honoring something that really deserves being honored. And again, and if you are watching this as a you know, a teacher or educator in the school system, you know what I'm saying, realize the game you know you win. And that's why I was talking to my little cousin about this. I'm like, you know, cause she's in the educational system. I'm like, you know, cause they got y'all in a somewhat losing battle, you know, cause you know, they got y'all want to do things, you know, in the manner that they want them to do things. Cause I'm like, here it is where you in a situation where you got to teach all kids the same, and because of the doctrination of this school and the school board. And matter of fact, and what's so, how I just brought up New York and how they strict about these things, and she just said something about in Houston they adopted this New York way of doing things in the school system. So it's no coincidence, you know what I'm saying? But because I told her, I was like, are you allowed to kind of, as long as you're teaching the kids and they're learning, have fun? And she was like, you kind of got to do it in the structure where, you know, they say, you know, and then they constantly watching over. And I remember the days of our teachers, you know, being watched by the principal, like, you know, and getting their little quote unquote lesson plan together, you know, and then that trickles, you know, it's just a trickle down system from the principal to whatever school board, to the school board, to you know, the government in that area, to the government in that area, back to the federal government, back to, you know, boom, back to the banks, like all the way back, you know what I'm saying? To the 1% that's sitting down somewhere not being seen by nobody, you know, in essence. You know, but you know that yeah, the school system is set up for, you know, for failure in essence, you know. Here it is that you underpaid, you know, they asking you to force, you know, you gotta forcefully teach these kids in essence. Because I was telling her, like, little so and so, he learned through hearing things, you know, like listening. The other kid learned from reading good. The other kid learned from putting their hands on. And all these different kids is in one classroom being asked to learn all the same way. And if one of them make a peep, they got a nervous problem and they got ADHD or ADD, and we got to give them Ritalin now. We got to poison them now because they can't stay still in a situation where it's unnatural to stay still in. I'm fucking 7 years old. How the fuck I'm gonna stay still for 12 hours? You know? And again, that whole system, like the Pavlov's dog, the bell ring, bing, you know, in between, you know, classes. Oh, time for child time, like in the jailhouse. Time for lunch, you know. What's your lunch number? Or your inmate number? All the same thing. What's the orange jumper? What they implement in the schools? Uniforms. Oh yeah, the uniforms look all nice. And again, hierarchies, because of course your teacher, you're like, oh yeah, I think y'all look nice in those uniforms, this and that, because she's not aware of the you know, what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? So to her, it's just cute that everybody gets to wear uniform, because they think, you know, and again, because we want everybody to look the same. I remember that was one of the excuses for us, like so people won't clown each other's clothes, because you know everybody can't afford. I think to myself, I'm like, shit, no matter if you, I'm like, your uniform gonna be dingy, all your shoes, I mean, you can't afford that, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all doing too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just using all these lame ass excuses for some indoctrinating bullshit, you know? And the reason why I'm cursing a lot in this video, because I'm very passionate about this area of things, you know? Because I feel like, you know, like, the information, right? Like, you know what? I know everybody learn at their own pace, you know, so it is what it is. Where some people come across this information, know it's real, but in essence, still be scared to, you know, honor the reality of things, you know what I'm saying? And I understand, like, you know, matter of fact, as a school teacher, you know, you know, there's revenue, you know what I'm saying, to up and quit, meaning you know, you back without revenue and having to find your way. But again, now's the vibrate, you know, and that's only if you feel like, if you down with what the school system got y'all down with, then cool. But you know, like for the just step by step, just operating your now and finding ways to be an educator in a manner where you really educating people. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing too. Do you really want to help people learn something for real, or do you just want to help indoctrinate people into this system of America? And again, I know, because even talking to my, again, to my cuz, it was kind of a place where I didn't want to, like kind of jack her career from under with the way, because I could have spoke more to the truth of the situation. But again, that's another thing. Well, we here to help each other and not tear each other down. You know what I'm saying? So in that moment, because I couldn't, or because I wasn't in that moment, I wasn't able to deliver some information like, cuz, this one step you could take, like give a step by step of how you could pull yourself away from being a school teacher. I was like, I just kind of gave her the insight, but not breaking it down all the way, because at the end of the day, that's her form of revenue, sustaining herself, you know what I'm saying? And up until, she's able to, do something different and sustain herself, she got to go with what she going with, until we learn that we fall into the place of realizing we are God on the human experience, and we can manifest things with our thoughts and words. Until a lot of us line up with that aspect, we're gonna be feeling like we're stuck in certain situations. That's another reason why people feel like they can't do anything. And you see the full circle of it. You know what I'm saying? Like another aspect why people feel stuck is the energy, why like not connecting to higher self and source, or not. Matter of fact, again, when you get your history taken away from you, so when you don't know that you have a pineal gland, and that you don't know that you have chakras, and that breathing a certain way makes energy move in your body, when you don't know that, then you just like you think you have to be a school teacher who indoctrinate people, or you think you have to be a police officer who fuck over people. Not saying all police people fuck over people, not all teachers indoctrinate the students to a certain extent, but again, it is what it is with that vibe. But I think that's about the gist of everything. But definitely again, good literature on letting go of that egoic mind, finding that God place, and being able to get more in tune with your inner source, so that if you do have a situation where it's like it's unfavorable to your soul and for what you truly stand for as a soul, you could go wherever you want, because you know that you are source on the human experience, and that you can manifest with your thoughts and your words, and with your your confidence within whatever it is that you wanting to do. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, that's again where the ball game start off all fucked up. Like in kindergarten, I should be in a coloring book, learning about, matter of fact, coloring my chakra. Matter of fact, in kindergarten, we mostly learn about the root chakra. So you just, which honestly, we're smarter than that, to where we don't have to learn linear. If they wouldn't have hit us with all that poison from when we was born, these fake vaccines and shit, and all this fake medicine leading up to our first day of school, we would be extremely smart. Matter of fact, not eating meat and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, walking around barefooted from birth, would have been obvious that, oh no, I could learn more than just my root chakra. Teach me all of it, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, we should have been learning about these things from kindergarten, because from kindergarten I learned, all right, I manifest things with my thoughts and my words. I have energies within my body, and if they're not spinning properly or properly aligned, then that energy causes what some call diseases of the body. So the energy turns into something physical. Like that's something that should be taught, from an early age. You know what I'm saying? But then you're not. So when you get older, you like cursing out God and like fuck God or this and that. Like, cause even myself, I had a stage of going like, oh, well, fuck God, or fuck, what the fuck going on here? You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I wasn't taught my history. I wasn't taught. Again, a tree that's like Where the fuck my roots? What kind of tree am I? You know, where I come from. And how the hell I'm gonna know where I'm going if I don't know which way I was, which direction I was coming from. You know, that's the whole vibe. Like if I don't know what my pineal gland is, then how can I keep it healthy? If from kindergarten to fucking college, I don't learn about my pineal gland on a spiritual level. Think about that. And two, you see that this is a system that, so even at a HBCU, historical black college, yeah, it's a historical black college, but in which now some of them are, because I think about like my African American lit class at Southern that really leaked some real sauce on me. You know what I'm saying? So it's somewhat balanced at a depending on your HBCU. You know what I'm saying? You may get some real actual history, but to a certain extent, with a lot of other things, you get an indoctrination that come from the European educators and stuff, and what they passed on as, hey, this is the knowledge we want y'all to learn and deal with. You know what I'm saying? And learning and dealing with information that somebody wants you to deal with don't necessarily make you smart. Like if I'm a 4.0 student in their system, I'm just smart at doing what they want me to do. That don't mean I'm like a very intellectual and mature soul that really understands life. Nah, I'm good at doing what they ask me to do. That's why when I got to junior high, I just kind of like, ooh, like, all right, fuck school. It was like that fuck school without fuck school. Cause again, I know I'm in this matrix. I know how the parent situation operate. They're gonna be looking for me to bring home some decent grades, and plus, cause they expect, cause I was a straight 4.0 student, like up until junior high. Because again, I started to like, all right, bro, I ain't fuck this. Like, oh yeah, I'm a 4.0 student. I'm on honor roll. Like, I started to see a vibe of like, I just need to retain the information that really, makes me smarter, and all that other shit you could have. Like, and I'm gonna do enough just not to fail, not to fail your system. Cause not to say that I'm a failure. You know what I'm saying? How many brethren and sisters that may have not went to high school that's doing great for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, because matter of fact, on the simplest level, man, reading and writing, read, write, and know how to do your math, know how the numbers work, and then from there you could just read books and teach yourself. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happened to teaching ourselves? But yeah, that was my whole vibe with school. I got to that place of like, all right, this shit is mostly for my parents not to feel shame, because society will look down upon them if their son isn't on honor roll or 4.0 student. And because this is the vibe they vibe with, of course, having a little empathy towards their position, I would make sure I didn't just bomb out to a certain extent. But again, it was I was like, man, to hell with this. I remember my mom always like, oh, you ain't got no homework? Like, never? Like, damn, like, you in high school? And matter of fact, and not doing none of that homework and none of that bullshit, but then still passing them bullshit ass tests. Because another thing, too, it was more so about memory and not really learning. It's like, this test is a test of your memory in essence. Like, it's not whether you retain this information. It's like, can you beat this information across your head enough to just remember it for this test and pass it? But, these are the things, going through my mind as a kid, growing up. It's like, man, nah, this is, being educated for their stuff. That doesn't necessarily make me intelligent or a smart person just because I'm great at being, something good for a certain system, because that certain system doesn't explain how the universe works. So, so me being smart in that system again doesn't, like there's a whole world that exists Again, they gave you 1 degree of 360 degrees of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That's where you get, oh, you getting your degree. That's what they mimic. That's what they clowning you about, like your 1 degree. Out of 360 degrees. You spend, let's say, you spend 18 years of your life, or you could say 26 or 27 years of your life. You know, getting a degree of knowledge. Or let's just say some of y'all really good educators. All right, you spend 50 years of your life getting 4 degrees of knowledge. You're still missing like 300 and something degrees. you know, and then you leave this planet without even knowing your true existence. Matter of fact, at that point, you probably train like 50 on. You're getting close to that time to leave the bodysuit behind, and here it is. You done been here just learning for a system, that ain't really taught you shit. And again, this is not to knock the brethren and sistren who may feel schooling is, I'm just speaking to the reality of what schooling is and deal with. I'm speaking to the reality of, stemming from the Freemasonry. And again, like, reason why you have that little motorboard, whatever they call it, think about like you seen somebody doing brickwork and they got the little concrete on the little little square thing they hold in hand, but that being on your head is a symbol of them building you up in their educational system. You know what I'm saying? The master builder, the master mason, they building you up. Matter of fact, and boxing you in with that Saturn energy. You know what I'm saying? That cube energy. So. But I digress. I just want to speak on the Columbus Day vibe. And again, with these facts, only somebody who just wants to be a slave would, hear or see some information like that and still want to deny it, It's like, nothing is wrong with hearing this information, wanting to do further research, but to just like, oh no, because again, I gave enough of research in essence to prove a point. The Golden Trade of the Moors, that book again. Go and that's literature I never read. Again, I was just referenced that. The information about the West African Mali people who traveled 400 years before Columbus was born to the Americas area. I was just, that information informed me that, trying to talk too much. I got the information from the video which told me, like, about the Golden Trade of the Moors, and how that book is where that information dealing with, again, the Mali people who traveled 400 years before Columbus was even born. Not 400 years before Columbus, before he was even came out of his mom's vaginal canal. But I digress. Peace. Happy now. Now is a vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.